Interview.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Brinke.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm having a wonderful time shooting in Nebraska, even though it's freezing outside compared to California.
Tell us about the cast and the crew you worked with.
It was a wonderful cast and crew. I had been in touch with Dustin beforehand. He found me on Facebook. He's a big fan of 80s and 90s movies. And we had a lot of communication, phone calls and things. And I was just really happy that he invited me out here to be in this film.
Great. Well, in terms of that, what was your most memorable moment?
It started when I was picked up at the Omaha airport in a green limousine, this long stretch limo. That was quite fun, and met the entire cast and crew at Pepe's Vegetarian Mexican restaurant. So it really started off nicely the day I arrived. And 2 wonderful days of shooting. I got to die and fall in the snow and lay there in my pajamas. And I got to spend most of the movie actually in my lounging pajamas in bed, so it was pretty easy.
Right on. Were there any challenges you faced in the role of Amanda Price?
It was a lot of dialogue to memorize for this role. I spent about 2 months learning it, and it almost had kind of a Victorian cadence to it that was sort of formal way of speaking. So I really had to spend a lot of time getting that down and learning. And I watched old movies like Sorry, Wrong Number with Barbara Stanwyck, where she plays a kind of stay-at-home invalid, just to kind of get ideas for how to play that role.
Yeah, I love old Barbara Stanwyck. Hmm. How would you compare acting in indie horror today to when you first started 30 years ago?
The whole experience of filmmaking has changed so much since I first started in 1980, where things were shot on film. So you had huge lighting packages and camera equipment and things, and everything took so much longer to move everything around. Plus, budgets were a lot higher. Like a low budget in those days was about $300,000. And since then, with the video revolution and then the digital technology, it's changed so much in that movies can be shot a lot faster. Like we got all of my scenes done in 2 long days here. And a much smaller crew. And I like that, because when you're working in a house like this, which is over 100 years old, and some of the rooms are very small, so it's nice to have a smaller crew and you're not always tripping over each other.
Sure. Reflecting back on your entire career, what was your favorite role and why?
I've probably been in 150 movies, and I think my favorite one was Haunting Fear, because I'm in the entire movie. I don't die. And it was a lot of dialogue, a lot of scenes. I got to work with Jan Michael Vincent and Karen Black. That was a Fred Olen Ray movie. And I play a wife whose husband is slowly driving her crazy and is trying to kill her for her inheritance. So there's certain similarities to this movie, where my brother is trying to kill me off so he can inherit my vast fortune.
Do you find it easier to find work living in LA, or do you find yourself traveling a lot for gigs?
I travel quite a bit for movies. Last year I did 10 films, and I would say maybe 4 or 5 of those were in Los Angeles and the rest were in other places. I shot in Wisconsin, Safe Inside. I did Head Cases in Delaware, a movie in Arkansas. And the year before that, I was in Fall River, Massachusetts for Jonah Lives. So I like doing regional films because you get a totally different look. Like today when we were out shooting a scene where I'm chasing what I think is my dead sister Meredith, it was very creepy with the snow on the ground and the bare trees. And that's something you obviously can't get in Los Angeles.
Besides acting, what else do you enjoy doing? Any special hobbies?
Besides acting, I do a lot of writing. I have 3 scripts right now that I haven't sold. I've actually sold 6 scripts so far. And I just got a new literary agent. So she's sending out my big budget Sinbad script, and I have 2 others that I'm polishing up right now to get ready to send out. And I also do a lot of writing for magazines, especially travel articles. So that's a lot of fun. I get to go exotic places and then write about them.
What advice do you have for today's actresses wanting to achieve scream queen status?
I'm not sure that a young actress today could follow in my footsteps and have the same career that I had. Because when I started back in the 80s, there were a lot of indie studios like Fred Olen Ray, Dave Dakota, Roger Corman, and they were like factories. It was set up that way where you could just go from one to the other and constantly make movies in Los Angeles. But now, because filmmaking has spread out so much, there's not the kind of networking that existed back then. So it would be almost impossible for someone to get the same kind of recognition, to turn out that kind of body of work that we were able to do back in the 80s and 90s when there was so much production going on.
Anything else you want to share?
I think the cameraman is terrific. I loved working with Mark.
Thank you.
All right. No, thank you a lot,
Okay.
Brinke. We enjoyed
Yes.
having you work with us. It was always a pleasure for us.
Oh, it was wonderful. And are we still rolling?
Yep.
Oh, one of my favorite things was hanging out with the director, Dustin, at his house, and he showed me his music videos, which were amazing, and he's very, very talented. So it was fun, and it's a lot more fun than sitting by yourself in a hotel room when you can hang out with the cast and crew and get to know people and discover a little bit about people's lives. And one of the things that really impressed me is that people are so connected here. There's so much goth stuff and horror stuff and zombie stuff. And you wouldn't think that Nebraska would be a hotbed of horror activity. But amazingly enough, there's this real grassroots network here of filmmakers and special effects artists. And they love horror everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you, Brinke.
Mm-hmm.